Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush joins us on the Squawk Newsline. Governor, thanks for joining us. That was the year that we all point to because it had been a long time since a major hurricane struck, I think the longest in history. But the last year we're referring to was the one where you watched one after another in a 44-day period. You had four big ones, right?
Yep. We had, in 16 months, 8 hurricanes, 4 tropical storms, and we learned a lot doing that. I can promise you that. Both the state and local officials really were focused and learned as we went along, and all of that experience, I think, has remained in the emergency operations centers across the state. I think Governor Scott has done a great job. I'm down here in Miami and I've been watching the news, and there's lots of information, quality information for people to make the decision whether to evacuate or shelter in place. And the citizens of this community have really responded.
In 2004, just looking at some of the history, that Charlie was called Florida's nightmare scenario at the time. You were governor, and it was coming in as a 3 or a 2 or something, and then all of a sudden it hit as a 4, and you visited it afterwards, I think, and the notes here say that you were that affected you. You were really shook up by that to see what happens, and then that was, unfortunately, a pretty good experience for what was to come.
Yeah, and you know we had special needs shelters that weren't special. They weren't hurricane resistant. The really dedicated public nurses, health nurses that were there were overwhelmed, and from that lesson, we invested a lot of money to provide safe, secure shelters, particularly for frail people. And all of that now is going to be put into play for sure, because the entire state will be hit by hurricane force winds during the next 4 days. So this will be an overwhelming effort. One thing that's important to note is that after the storm, more deaths occur than before the storm, and a lot of times it's people getting onto the streets, into flooded areas, and they may get electrocuted. There may be other issues, so people need to continue to heed the warnings of local officials post-storm as well.
Governor, was it the one that I remember that was so heart-wrenching? Was that Andrew, where entire suburbs were just gone? That was a Category 5. Miami has been hit with a Category 5 before in 1992.
It was a Cat 5 storm. It went through very fast. It wasn't a water event. It was devastating in South Dade County and in Homestead and into the county for sure. And it took us months to recover. So a Cat 5 storm, if it hits, or a Cat 4 storm, these are devastating storms that will take a long time to recover. Now, thankfully, our building code has gotten a lot better. Our emergency response capabilities are significantly better. The cooperation between all local, state, and federal governments from the lessons learned is a lot better. So I'm optimistic that Florida's got the best emergency response capability in the country. And I'm confident in that regard, but this is an overwhelming storm.
And, it was a learning process for you at one point. I mean, there were some distribution center problems at one point, and I think it might have been FEMA, but back at the time you said, look, I take responsibility. I mean, do you think everybody's learned, or everybody's better at this now? FEMA's better at this? Do you feel a lot more? Yeah, really?
Well, for 8 years, the guy that ran the Florida emergency response
He's the guy,
operation under my watch was Craig Fugate, who ran FEMA, and FEMA's been upgraded significantly. Everybody is impacted in some fashion in our country with a disaster. So there's broad bipartisan support for all of this. I think the country has gotten far better of understanding how to do this and how to recover. Now, the harder part of this is not for the federal government, is the long-term recovery aspects. That's their primary responsibility, and we'll see how it works, because they're going to have to be doing a lot of work in Texas and a lot of work in Florida.
Do you expect this to get political? People already politicized what happened in Houston. People politicized what happened here with Sandy. Do you imagine that's going to happen this time around?
Those are the nutcases on the margins. Frankly, I think there's broad support for providing help with people in need. And the response in Houston is heartwarming. Not just the government. I mean, most of the support, frankly, is people to people. Right now, I know that there are people that work for the Salvation Army and Red Cross that are driving from parts unknown to Florida to help people in the aftermath of the storm. And literally every church group, every community civic-based organization is preparing for this. It's one of the elements of recovery in hurricanes that is really the highlight reel. If you wanted to be honest about it, it is when people really show up to help. And I don't think politics will get in the way at all.
Governor, it's great to have you on, and our focus remains on trying to do everything we can to help make this as non-damaging as possible, get people where they need to be and have the right response. But just real quickly, since we talked about politics, were you surprised that, I mean, you've had some experience with the president in the campaign. What about this where he said, I've talked to Chuck and Nancy and we're going to get this done? And did that raise an eyebrow for you, or nothing raises an eyebrow anymore? It's interesting. Was it the right move?
Put me in the nothing raises an eyebrow category, and I've been focused on making sure that my home is safe and sound. We're going to be sheltering in place with my two near-perfect granddaughters and my daughter-in-law and son and wife, and so I've been focused on how the heck can I get some ice. And,
yeah, I understand.
I'm set. We're all set. We're ready to go, and I watch a lot more ESPN now. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, that gets a little political. I think at times
it
too.
It does. That guy Kim couldn't broadcast in Virginia.
Right. Well,
give me a break.
Well, you're watching the wrong stuff. With Boomer and Carton, you can get some good tickets from Carton, I understand, too. Now, maybe not anymore. All right, well, so I can't get you to comment at all, because it did make, I don't know, it just put McConnell and Ryan in kind of a weird position, didn't it? I mean, I know you're still, you must be avidly watching everything that's happening, but these are interesting times, at least, aren't they?
Well, look, after the storm, we can talk about politics. I think the key to the Republican Party is passing meaningful tax reform to create long-term sustained economic growth. They do that, they're back in the game.
Well, good, and let's do talk afterwards. Hopefully, you'll be up here, and we'd love to see you again. It was good to hear your voice, Governor. To be honest, I know Becky feels that.
And Andrew?
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice.
We all feel that way.
Stay safe, sir.
Stay safe.
Yeah,
you bet.
Take care.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.